Okay, it looks like we are live, ready to go. Hello everybody, Stephanie here. I wanted to hop on real quick today because I noticed some comments in our Well Body Bootcamp Day 4 check-in. Side note, everyone's doing fantastic, right? You guys are killing it. You're hopping on, giving us your progress, cheering each other on. I love it. I think at the end of this 2 weeks, you are going to be well on your wellness transformation. Now, today in day 4, there was some talk about portion sizes and macronutrients, and I'm just gonna hit some highlights real quick so that if you have any other follow-up questions after, feel free to ask them in the comments. But I wanted to give you a little bit of a rundown for how I coach my clients and how I want to advise all of you, especially when you are getting started. So, a little side note when it comes to this idea of, someone had mentioned, you know, you go to a restaurant and your plate is like mountaintop, you're filled, you have every corner covered with some, food, sauce, side, whatever it is. And over time, especially since the really early 1980s, portion distortion has started to become a very real thing in our culture. One example is the Joy of Cooking cookbook, really popular best-selling cookbook. In the 1980s, the brownie recipe in this cookbook would had 30 servings. Now the recipe hasn't changed, but the serving size has. And that same exact recipe that was 30 servings is now only 16 servings. So what does that tell you? It's crazy how we have just exploded our expectation for what a portion looks like, and then we kind of expect to not have any side effect of that, which is not true. So I thought that little fact would be interesting for some of you, because it is for me. Like, that cookbook is, has some great recipes in it, but when you look at the serving sizes have increased, but the recipe has not. So, the other thing too that I think about when I'm thinking about this concept of, portion distortion, portion control, whatever it is, we're kind of always being marketed at. So, we're always trying to subconsciously get the better deal, and marketers know that. So if you think about how the popcorn sizes in, the movie theaters have increased over time, and the sodas, they used to be 8 ounces, and now it's 16 or 32 ounces. You can get it for the same price, so you feel like you're getting this really great deal. That distorts our expectation of what a portion properly looks like. Restaurants do the same thing. Oh, hey, look, come back and eat with us because look how much food we give you. So there is definitely this distortion when it comes to how much food we should be putting on your plate. I have a little demonstration I'm going to show you today. Now, this is a huge plate that I never eat off of in my house. Unless I have a dinner party over, I don't eat off of this size plate. The plate that I eat off is about, is the salad plate to this version. But I'm going to mark this plate up with some macronutrient suggestions. So I wanted to use one big enough for you to see. But even when we're eating out of our own home, there's a few tips and tricks just to keep our portion under control. It takes about 20 minutes for our brain to recognize if our stomach is actually full. So before going back for a second portion or a second helping, give yourself some breathing room. You can try drinking water about 20 minutes before you eat your meal, which I recommend anyway because it does aid in digestion. When you are drinking large amounts of water with your meal, it actually is going to dilute the hydrochloric acid in your stomach, which does not give us optimal digestion. So if you have 4 to 6 ounces of water just kind of set aside with your dinner to help wash anything down, that's totally fine, but we should not be chugging large glasses of any type of liquid during our meals. That is reserved for in between meals. And that will help keep our portion our portions under control as well. Another tip is to keep the casserole dish or the baking dish or whatever it is that you're serving your food off of on a counter in the kitchen, not sitting on the table where you can just automatically like keep spooning the food onto your plate. We want to be mindful about how much we're eating. And not all calories are created the same. So there were a few comments in our day 4 check-in where I think a few of the ladies were saying, hey, you know, I've cut out on sugar, I've been following the meal plans, you know, which takes a lot of the guesswork out, right? When I'm giving you this meal plan to follow, I am making sure that there are specific macronutrients in each meal. So it kind of takes out some of that guesswork. So, you know, if you want to make things easier on yourself, check out all the meal plans available to you. However, you know, there were a few people who are commenting like, you know what, I'm not as hungry because I've been cutting out, you know, this sugar source that I've been used to eating. Well, that's because not all calories are created the same. So if you're, you know, thinking about it as sugar being a simple carbohydrate source, it's actually an empty calorie. So you're eating it, but it's not actually fueling your body. It's not actually making you satisfied. It's not making you feel, you know, like you are going to have any long-term energy from it. So we want to keep in mind that, yes, we have macronutrients, we're going to talk about that real quick, but also that they're not created equal. We have some that are, you know, super high glycemic versus, you know, low glycemic, which means that they're going to give you longer lasting sustainable energy, and that's what we want to go for. So you know, I want to keep these videos short, sweet, and to the point. So I want to get into thinking about what our plate should look like. So here's your plate. If you're thinking about building your plate, and I'm going to draw on my plate, don't worry, this is a dry erase marker, so it washes right off. Generally speaking, we're looking at our plate and we're doing about 50% veg over here. And this is going to be basically your carb source. So if you're making sure that you have salads, 2 or 3 different vegetable choices, you're going to be getting the carbs that you need, and you're not going to have to think about it that much. So over here we want veg, okay? Plants, veg. Now, basically, we just quarter off half off the other side. So it's basically, you know, a quarter of your plate. We're going to do about 25% protein, and then we're going to do about 25% fat. This is the simplest way for me to describe what your plate should look like. Now, if you're doing some sort of casserole or crock pot, like, and things are kind of mixed and melded together, just kind of eye the ingredient list before you're putting in to make sure, okay, do I have really good plant, veggie sources? They're going to be my carbohydrates. Do I have, you know, really good amounts of protein sources, which could be plant proteins or animal proteins? Do I have enough fat in there? And that's what I keep in mind when, you know, I'm putting, you know, meal plans together or recipes together or anything like that. So I'm kind of checking off in my head, okay, is there, you know, fats available? Or is there some type of protein source, some type of carbohydrate source? So now this is super general, and if you're getting started, just think about this as your macronutrient intake. So you have your carbohydrates, you have your proteins, you have your fat. Not too hard, just kind of visualize it on your plate. Now, for my more advanced clients, I might recommend, you know, let's get, you know, let's actually track some macronutrients if I feel like they're in a place where we need to be tracking them. Or if you're doing something like the ketogenic diet where you need to be more aware of what fat percentage you're eating throughout the day versus your carb percentage, that can totally warrant counting your macronutrients and being a little bit more mindful of it. And there's calculators out there, there's apps out there where you can input your food and it'll tell you the percentage of the macronutrients you're eating. So if that's something that you really want to do, that you're interested in, go for it. But to keep things simple, just eye it out on your plate. It doesn't have to be like super, super complicated. Now, if you are, say, like you're wanting to lose weight, what you would do is be super mindful of what type of vegetables. So make sure they're lower starch vegetables, increase your fat, increase your protein a little bit, so that this would shift a little bit based on what your ultimate goal is. So if you are like even athletes that I coach, if I have an athlete who's more endurance focused versus an athlete who's more strength training focused, that's going to change the percentage of their protein. But generally speaking, if you are loading your plate up and it's 50% veg, plant-based, for, keep your fruit intake to 2 to 3 servings a day at the most. The rule of thumb basically is if it's more of a tropical fruit, it's going to be higher glycemic, which means higher sugar. If it's more of a temperate type fruit, it's going to be lower glycemic and probably loaded a little bit more with antioxidants. All fruit has benefit for you, but if you really are watching like a glucose marker or something on your blood work, or if you're pre-diabetic, or if you are trying to cut down on carbohydrates to lose weight, you would want to kind of be more mindful about the types of fruit you are allowing into your diet. Honestly, the place where I'm finding people kind of, don't think about as much are, including that fat source. That fat source is really what's going to satiate you to allow you to spread your meals out throughout the day and not have these energy dips where you are then craving sugars and simple carbohydrates to then give you a quick boost of energy. So, if you have a snacking habit, if you find that, you're looking to, maybe you have a hypoglycemic issue, if you have headaches, migraines, you want to lose weight, something like that, look at the fat. Make sure that you're bringing fat into every single meal. And these are the percentages with the macros that I would start out with. And like I said, if there's something specific that, you have as a goal in mind for yourself, like for example, the ketogenic diet, this is going to look a little bit different, but this is the starting point that I would recommend everyone go for, without becoming burdened about counting calories and counting the macros right away. Just eye it out on your plate. Then if you have a well-balanced meal and you are ensuring that this is what your plate looks like, you're getting the macros that you need, you're getting the calories that you need, you're getting the wholesome nutrition that you need, you're getting the variety that you need. So it covers a lot if you can just, kind of memorize this, which it isn't too hard to do. I think you'll be fine. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions. I'd be happy to answer them for you. If you have like super specific type questions for yourself and what percentages of macros that you need, that'll require a one-on-one consult, because we'll have to determine like body mass index, we'll have to determine like activity level, we'll have to determine goals and stuff like that. So that's an option for you. If you want something that's a little bit more streamlined and personal protocol with your macros, we can do that for you. You'll just have to go ahead and sign up with us to get a one-on-one consult. Now, I hope that was helpful. I think it's something that we have to keep reminding ourselves about. Yes, the portions today are distorted. They have been, and it has been this way, and it's actually getting worse. So to be mindful about, this is how much I should be eating. And 25% protein, just to give you an idea, if we're using this as our example, 25% protein would be, about 3, 4, 5 ounces, which is like the palm of your hand. So that is about a quarter of a plate. So it all matches up. And it makes sense if you think about it. So let me know, guys, if you have any other questions. I am so happy to see so many of you doing so well during Well Body Bootcamp. It's really that chance for us to think about our wellness goals and then to go after them. Like, make a plan, go after them. Your goals are not going to look like my goals, and vice versa. So let's keep going. I hope everyone's doing well, having a great day, and I will chat with you soon. All right, ladies, bye.